Okay, I'm going to start again, sorry. So, welcome everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are joining today. So, this is an event today, live from 2025 ECOSOC Youth Forum. And the title of the forum, like today, the topic of the forum is Youth at the Forefront, Leveraging Science and Social Inclusion for Sustainable Development. The topic we are going to discuss today is ESG for youth. ESG stands for Environmental, Social, and Governance, advancing SDG 5, 8, and 17 for the sustainable futures. This event is kindly sponsored by Nature's Earth and supported by SquareGate Group, NetStars, EST Global Sustainable Futures Network, Union Farms of Africa, and Captain Planet. So I will now hand it over to the Managing Director of SquareGate, Samil Agosi, to give an opening to talk about the webinar opening. Thank you. Over to you, Shamil.
下午好像就这一场，咱们只要赶上下午1点钟就行。还有一个那个推手，练的，对。那我们还这个
Hello, can you mute yourself, the audience who is not... Hello, Samil, are you there? Okay, we can't find Shamil. Okay. May I invite Mumta Ayato, founder and CEO of Nature's Right, to provide us an introduction to the Nature's Right framework. Over to you, Mumta, please.
Hi there, everyone. Great to be here today and welcome to this event. We're Nature's Rights. We're one of the sponsors of this event today. And I want to take the opportunity to explain to you a little bit about the background and the rationale of the Integrated Rights Framework, and then go into a little bit about how it relates to the theme and the topic that we have today. So often we think about sustainability and we try to create a regenerative planet without really thinking whether the legal frameworks that we have, which were actually set over 100 years ago, in the main, you know, in its structural form, are actually fit for that purpose. And so today I'm just going to walk through a little bit of some of the core structures in our legal system that enable the exploitative dynamics to continue, and a few little bits of structural changes that need to happen that would tip us over into a regenerative society where all life can thrive. So I'm just going to share my screen and share some slides because it's going to make it so much easier to understand. So this is my organization, Nature's Rights. We're a charity, and what we're all after is a thriving future. Thriving future means a thriving future for all life on Earth, because there is no thriving for us without thriving of all the other beings on our planet too. So there is no environment. We're the Earth's extended body. Just to introduce the stance, just to invite everyone a little bit to consider that so often we think of the environment as something existing out there and we are here, but we're actually radically interconnected, and this is a scientific fact. We cannot exist without the earth. We cannot exist without clean air, clean water, and all of the health and the vitality that the earth provides for our life to be sustained. So starting there with that honoring and that acknowledgement of the earth and our interrelationship with it. So coming from that place of interrelationship and just looking at how that interrelationship is recognized in law, well, it's not really recognized in law. So this iceberg sums it up very well. If we look at the top of the iceberg, what we see are all the visible results of the way the legal structures are enabling our society. So we see ecological crisis, inequality and poverty, pandemics, ill health, climate crisis, food crisis, economic crisis, sixth mass extinction. But if we look below the waterline of this iceberg, it comes from silo systems and structures, fragmentation in our legal systems as well, which then comes from a mechanistic paradigm or worldview, which separates the human from nature, which comes from this underlying consciousness of separation, which is encoded in law. And now all of that drives what we call a degenerative cycle. So the degenerative cycle basically starts from this separation from the human being from nature. You then get laws and policies that work on the premise that we are separate from nature, which then lead to what I call degenerative structures, like the concentration of wealth and power in the hands of a few, agriculture that poisons the earth, extractive industries that destroy nature faster than she can replenish, systems that operate in silos and so on. And all that leads to the degenerative results, the sixth mass extinction, which then reinforces the separation consciousness, and on it goes. And so in this kind of environment, we are trying to create a regenerative future. So you can see how trying to create a regenerative future when the legal structure is actually designed to create a degenerative future isn't really working. And this is the result. This is what we've ended up with, the violation of the planetary boundaries. In 2009, 3 boundaries were crossed. In 2015, 4 boundaries were crossed. And 2023, no less than 6 out of 9 planetary boundaries are crossed. And all these planetary boundaries are interconnected. And what that means is that it's not just climate change. Climate change has a knock-on effect on everything else, but so does the nitrogen phosphorus cycle, so does the acidification of the oceans, so does biodiversity loss. They're all interrelated, and crossing one boundary has radical knock-on effects. So you end up with the Earth organic system starting to unravel. And so what do we need to do about it? We need to change the paradigm. We need to transform the system. We also need to personally embody the change. And so with nature's rights, what we're doing is starting with a regenerative iceberg. So we start with this unity consciousness, this embedding and encoding the fact that we are of the earth, we are interconnected with the earth, and that our human economies and our human societies are all utterly 100% wholly dependent on the earth, encoding that in law. And from that comes the holistic paradigm, which from then comes whole system structures. So we overcome the fragmentation, which then gives rise to the positive outcomes, which are the boxes at the top of the iceberg. It leads to regenerative economies, pandemic resilience, health and well-being, climate resilience, food security, thriving ecosystems, thriving biodiversity, and so on. In other words, it leads to the outcomes that we're all looking for in attaining the Sustainable Development Goals and living within planetary boundaries at the same time. So what does that actually look like in practice? So coming to this framework, we were tasked by the European and European Economic and Social Committee to conduct a study into the feasibility of a fundamental charter for the rights of nature recognized in European law. And for that, the brief was, can the rights of nature encompass all of the other rights? And so this is what we came up with in response to that. If we look at the current sustainability model, where you've got your three circles, people, economy, and nature, they're all separate. Now, for these three to be in balance, it follows that all three should have representation in our legal system. But at the moment, only people and economy have legal representation in the form of rights. But nature is a commodity, and this causes a massive problem, as we can see with the planetary boundaries. But also in law, if you look at human rights and you look at corporate and property rights, they're not equal either, because you have a legal system that is skewed, where access to justice is mainly dominated by those who have the money to be able to hire the lawyers to access the system. And so you end up not just with this power imbalance in how justice plays out, but you also have a situation where economic and property rights are actually stronger in law than human rights, because they're enforceable against everybody. They're enforceable against private actors as well as governments, whereas human rights are only enforceable against governments. So what we've done is we said, well, this nature, people, and economy, it assumes that all three are independent to each other and they can function independently. But in reality, that's not the case. They are interdependent, but not just interdependent, they are wholly dependent on nature. So we have a nested hierarchy. We have a nested hierarchy of systems, and from that, you have a nested hierarchy, a natural nested hierarchy of rights. So you have nature's rights, with nature as the meta system. Subsystem of nature is human society, and a subsystem of human societies is human economies. And so from that, it naturally flows that you have nature's rights as the umbrella. From that, a subsystem of that is human rights, and a subsystem of that is economic rights. And the rights should be synergistic and collaborative to support each other to maintain the integrity of the whole. So we've come up with a collaborative rights model, an integrated and collaborative rights model, whereas in the current system, the rights are adversarial. So even if you took the rights of nature and you just brought it in as a separate system of rights without the right relationship between all of the rights, it wouldn't achieve the result, because you'll still be battling it out in court. And we are not in adversarial relationship with nature. We are part of nature. It's actually our foundation. So if we look at the model on the right, this is the integrated rights framework, which I'm inviting you to reflect on today as a new model for sustainability that we can work towards and start embedding within our ESG. And it's this kind of integrated model that I really feel holds most promise for a truly regenerative model to create regenerative societies for our youth and for our future. So if we take our three circles and we map them out, nature, people, and economy, you can see that the UN Sustainable Development Goals all fit there on those circles, but we have the rights for accountability. So you've got the economic rights, the human rights, nature's rights, and at the bottom you have the planetary boundaries. So this ensures that all of these SDGs and the rights are implemented in a way that sustains the planetary boundaries, that sustains the very foundation that we all depend upon. And so how does that more particularly relate to the topic that's under discussion today? Well, if we look at SDG 5, gender equality? Well, the interconnected rights approach recognizes the link between the rights of nature, the rights of women, marginalized genders, addressing the root causes of inequality and exploitation. It has inclusive participation mechanisms. It embeds inclusive participatory decision-making processes in law, giving young women and gender diverse youth a voice in environmental and economic governance. It empowers grassroots leadership. It creates legal space for youth-led gender just leadership in regenerative development. If we look at SDG 8, decent work and economic growth, it embeds these regenerative economy principles into law, shifting us from exploitative to life-supporting economic models, creating meaningful, nature-aligned jobs and livelihoods for youth. It provides a legal duty to balance people, planet, and prosperity. It requires all economic activities to respect the rights of nature and people, promoting fairer, more sustainable economic systems. It stimulates innovation by encouraging youth entrepreneurship in greener and circular economy sectors through systemic legal support. And SDG 16, the partnerships for the goals. It's all about whole systems integration, fosters collaboration across sectors, generations, scales from local to global, based on the shared legal recognition of interconnected rights. It enables multi-stakeholder platforms, builds legal infrastructure for long-term, values-driven partnerships among youth, government, business, civil society, and it also aligns with current global frameworks. It reinforces and it advances international commitments, example, the UN DRIP, the CBD, UNFCCC, while filling in the legal gaps, making youth-led partnerships more impactful and also more fundable. So there's also cross-cutting ESG benefits like stronger accountability by embedding duties of care and integrated rights impact assessments into governments, ensuring transparency and responsibility. It's future-proofing. It aligns governance and investment with long-term prosperity and planetary health and intergenerational equity, which is very important for the youth. And also systemic resilience. So it builds resilience in institutions and communities by rooting them in mutual thriving between humans and nature. So if you'd like to find out more about the Integrated Rights Framework, please visit our website, which I'll put in the chat, www.naturesrights.org. And I will hand over to the panel. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mumta. Very interesting and also very relevant to today's event. So I will just highlight some points of about events that what we want to deliver today through these events. As I already mentioned, ESG, which is environmental, social, and governance principles, are becoming increasingly essential in shaping sustainable and ethical global business practices. So as we work towards 2030 agenda, the role of youth in ESG is pivotal in driving systemic change. We want this whole youth to understand what is ESG and to be ethical in their decision making so that we can shape our future appropriately. And there are several barriers hindering such progress, that is including, gender disparity, limited access to economic opportunities, and weak global partnerships. And so we want to focus on these 3 SDGs as well today in this. So the objective of the side event would be like we want to identify some challenges which are specifically a barrier in ESG implementation related to gender inclusivity, youth employment, and international collaboration. But also we would like to provide some solutions highlighting the strategic approaches that can enhance ESG investment, whether it could be in a time, practice, service, or funding. This all can be looked from the ESG and the Nature's Right framework lens to support our sustainable development. And we would like to then also speak about how we can engage businesses, policymakers, and youth organizations in creating these actionable commitments for sustainable ESG impact. So now, as I will introduce the panel, I am Dr. Renuka Thakur, founder and CEO of Global Sustainable Futures Network, and I hold other positions at various organizations, and my organization is worldwide. I'm present in 175 countries. The second in the panel, or not second, I won't be going through the like a panel positions, but however, these are our speakers at the panel today, and I would like to welcome Professor Dr. Jose Luis Esteve, researcher at IEA USP University of Sao Paulo, chairs Otavia Friars Filho in Communication, Democracy and Inclusion, and Oscar Sala in AI Governance, SDG 4 Global Chair, and also member of GSFN. Sorry. We also have a speaker Samil Agosi. She is a managing director and ESG expert at Square Gate Group, and she is from Botswana and South Africa. Then we have Philip Thorne, CEO of the Center for Security Research and Studies. He's a lecturer in criminology, policy, and law, and he's from United Kingdoms. We also have Sharon Oranekuwu. She's the board executive of RegTech Africa, and she's a community builder with 100,000 member community build around sustainable careers for women. She's from UK, London. And then we have a Prince Ajinga Justin Tani, founder and executive chairman of Union Farms of Africa and a roving ambassador to the Royal Chamber of the State of African Diaspora. He's from Cameroon. And we have Ijat Ali Khan, Saudi Arabia, seasoned FM and sustainability leader from UAE. Sorry, Saudi Arabia. Sorry about that. And we have Christine, one second. Christine Brittany. Oh. And we have Christine Brittany, sorry, Christine, Christine Brittany, and she is from UK, and she's a financial ESG expert. And I think I have spoken everyone's name. If I have forgot, we will announce it. So how we will go about this event? We will be speaking our opinions and perspective, and we will just it will be something like a fire chat, and we will hand it over to the next speaker. So that is how we will go about it, and I will invite Shamil Agosi to start on the challenges in advancing SDGs within the ESG market. And she will be speaking on the barriers for youth in ESG-focused career and entrepreneurial opportunities. Do we have Samil here? She did mention me that she's having a problem in joining. So we don't have Shamil yet. So let us, yeah, okay, she's working on joining. That is what it is told. Okay, so let me, invite, okay, I'm the second one to go. So I will be talking about the challenges in advancing SDG from the gender's perspective, which where my topic is gender disparities in leadership and decision making in sustainability sectors. So let me allow me to talk. Thank you. Thank you very much. So ladies and gentlemen, as we share few, reflections on these pressing issues, we know that gender disparity in leadership and decision making within the sustainability sector is the most pressing issue in the world today. Of course, gender disparity is everywhere in like almost all the levels, whether it is a home level or at a normal career level or a leadership. But more prominent it is seen in leadership, especially the statistics show that many girls or many women now graduate and get educated, and generally it is a higher rate, at a higher rate they educate or get graduated compared to the male counterpart of in that location or country. However, when it comes to the career pathway and the leadership roles, a lot of disparity is there. There's a huge disparity in a sense of we are at some places it ranges from like 10, 11% to 36%, but not more than 36 anywhere uh, is being seen yet. So it is common that in leadership roles, most women are not found. And therefore, what is happening that the decision making within all the sectors, and especially in sustainability sectors, women cannot bring their perspective or are not present when these decisions are taken in the roundtables or board meetings and so on. And that happens that the decisions are not fully comprehended for or eligible for the woman. Say, for example, because of the climate change, there is immigration of due to climate change. And when we see at these examples, we can see that mostly women and women with child are affected. And if these people are not having a voice in how they should be managing this immigration, it happens that they are left with less resources or less support and so on. And that makes them more and more vulnerable. And that is where we come here, like I come from that perspective, that if the voices are missing, you cannot be able to making decision that is that is providing equity to all sectors or all groups that are present in the discussion or for decision making. And so we need to spatially also look at the youth, and we have to make sure that we increase the gender equality right from the young age to the throughout the throughout the ages or throughout the generations. So while sustainability and ESG frameworks are getting traction, as we said, that women are still sidelined by key decision-making spaces. And the data and the lived experience that we bring here needs diverse leadership, and therefore then only we will be able to take effective, inclusive, and equitable solutions. So we must think about more about the moral imperative. I mean, it is our moral imperative, but it is also a strategic one that if we want to advance sustainability, we must intentionally create this space for women leadership in ESG governance through mentorship, inclusion hiring, and supportive practices. So I will stop here for uh, and give it to, and I will pass it to Jose to speak on weak public-private partnerships limiting ESG-driven impact. Over to you, Jose. I think we had Jose, definitely. He has also put the link here, but we have lost him. Like he has put his greetings here. I think we have lost him.
Maybe somebody else and we come back to him.
Yeah. Okay, sure. So let us carry on and we go to the next section, which is about strategic solutions and best practices. So I would invite Pris Ajinga Justin Tiani to talk about policies and initiatives fostering youth-led sustainable entrepreneurship. Over to you, Prince. Oh, he has been admitted just in time, so I will wait for him to get. I'm so sorry because we are bringing people around the world. If someone is in Brazil, someone is in Cameroon, and someone is in US, and so on. So we are having a little bit challenge here, but I think Prince Justin, I think you have joined, and can you hear me? Oh, Jose is also here. Hello, Dr. Jose. Are you listening to me? Can you listen to me? Hello. Hello, Professor Jose. Can you listen to me? It's your turn to speak now. Okay. Please, Justin, can you go? Okay, while we are waiting for them to join, I thought my time is over, so I wanted to cover more points so I can also go ahead with this. That first of all, when we are focusing on ESG and transiting to the green economy, we would like equal access to green jobs, entrepreneurship, and skill development. And these are called decent work, or this can call upon decent work and economic growth. But the young women often face systemic barriers such as lack of access to STEM education, uh, due to cultural barrier, but also due to expense. I think STEM education is thought to be more expensive than others. And so there are systemic barrier for women to access STEM education, even digital tools, financial capital, and network. So these all collectively bring them back in the race with others. And ESG must go beyond such compliance or beyond such regulatory, it must drive the economic empowerment for women. We must invest in upscaling and in entrepreneurship programs and in safe, inclusive work environments. And finally, I would say that the true transformation lies in partnerships. Sustainability must be inclusive, and we must co-create solutions, and meaning that we have to bring all these ideas and voices and build the platforms that can bring people together and lead on these things. Civil society, government, academia, and private sector all needs to be on one table to close the gender gap and redefine leadership themselves for equity, empathy, and collaboration. So that is what I would stop. I would finally say that ESG is not a side issue, but it has to take the core strategy to build the future that we desire and we want. And that is how we should co-create the world future. Professor Jose, I can see your face and I think you are ready to speak. Please go ahead.
Hello there. Thank you very much for your invitation, Dr. Ranuca. I am Professor Dr. Jose Luis Esteves from Brazil, and I'm now integrating as the SDG4 Global Chair, this GSFN, Global Sustainable Future Partnership. Really proud to connect with you here. Thank you again, Dr. Ranuca Thakur, and to all the organizers for this opportunity. I would like to bring you for a moment that is quite a little bit different than this one. Please close your eyes, even if you can close with your imagination for a while. And now, with your eyes kept closed, start to imagine a world where half of humanity, women and girls, have the same access to opportunity as the other half. Imagine a world where every young person can work with dignity, to create with purpose and thrive in a future that sees them not just as the demographic, but as decision makers. Now, imagine a world where governments, companies, and communities do not just promise progress, but they build it together. Now you can open your eyes, because this word is not a dream. It is the vision of the three interconnected sustainable development goals: the SDG 5 for gender equality, the SDG 8 for decent work and economic growth, and the SDG 17 for partnerships for the goals. So let's start with the goal 5. Gender equality is not only the right thing to do, it is the smart thing. The data is crystal clear. Closing gender gaps in labor could add up to $28 trillion to the global economy. And yet, in 2025, women still earn less, lead less, and carry more unpaid responsibilities than men. We are not just wasting potential, we are wasting opportunity. Now, if we talk a little bit about goal 8, this decent work, work is more than a paycheck. Work is identity. It is freedom. But today, 1 in 5 young people worldwide are not in work, not in school, and not in training. And as automation, AI, climate change reshapes the economy, the question will become, will we include young people or leave them behind? But here, what is get powerful? When we unlock goal 5, we accelerate goal 8. Empowered girls become entrepreneurs. Educated women grow communities. Inclusive workplaces fuel innovation. Fairness is not just a value, It is a multiplier. Still, none of this happens in isolation. That's why we need Goal 17, partnerships, because the world's biggest problems do not care about borders or sectors. So we need leaders in government, startups with soul, schools that teach empathy, and youth who act with purpose. That's where you come in, all of you. If you're young, passionate, and you're looking for a way to make your voice matter, this is your ESG moment. Not just E for environment, S for social, and G for governance, but E for empowerment, S for sharing, and G for growth. Empower those around you, share knowledge and action, grew movements, communities, careers with conscience, because sustainable development is not a race to win, it is a baton to carry, and now it's in your hands. Let's learn together. Let's build that future together. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Very beautiful words and very beautiful concept. Thank you. Thank you so much. Is Prince Justin now on the board? I think we have lost him again. Let me see in the gallery. Yes, I think we have lost him again. So I will invite Philip Ellethon to speak on cooperative strategies for gender inclusive ESG frameworks. Over to Philip. Philip, is he there? Okay. He did mention me that he was having some internet problem today, even in UK. So
Currently, Shamil is ready, says in the chat.
okay, wonderful. Shamil. Go ahead, please.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Renuka. My sincere apologies. For some reason, my Zoom has logged me out, and I guess it's African technical problems that we're facing today. But thank you all for being here today. And I will just go on to, I don't know where we are in terms of whether I should go on and give my initial statement that I wanted to give. But I just wanted to essentially address the issue of challenges facing young people seeking to enter into ESG. And I would like to say that one of the striking contradictions that we actually face today is that while the future is essentially shaped towards or shaped by young people, we remain largely marginalized and excluded from the very ESG frameworks that are essentially meant to safeguard us as young people and also safeguard the future. And so the obstacles are not essentially incidental, systematic, but also they require intentional action, and it has to be a grassroots action that is seeking, towards addressing ESG integration, and inclusion of young people and women, especially at grassroots. And to begin with, I think access to ESG education and professional pathways, they remain limited in our not only mainstream media, but also in terms of courses. Right now, I'm in Africa, in Botswana, and I happen to also have traveled all across African countries, and I've been to countries like Chad, where essentially internet penetration is essentially very low. And right now, most of the education that we find actually around ESG is only found online, meaning that already by virtue of many people being excluded from internet connectivity. This means that ESG education is not necessarily easily accessible. And then in far too many young regions here in Africa, it's not just a case of Cameroon or the outskirts of Botswana, but also across the global south. I think ESG knowledge is concentrated within institutions and high emitter organizations like mining companies. So chances are, if you're not working for a mining company or a big energy company, you probably don't know what ESG even stands for. And I think this calls for a concerted effort towards actually helping taking ESG and making it accessible to as many people as possible. And the other aspect that I want to actually address today is as it regards to financing. And this is a huge barrier, not only for entrepreneurs seeking to actually venture into ESG, but also youth-led ventures in climate tech, in sustainability and ESG-focused entrepreneurship. They often cannot access capital that they need to either take their innovations to market or even take it to bankable feasibility. I think this is a real challenge that we're finding in the space. Squaregate, as a company seeking to essentially integrate ESG and drive net zero targets of high emitters and across different other sectors, including mining, including energy, as well as agriculture and manufacturing. One of the challenges is how do you actually ensure credibility of data? And innovation is the only way in which you can essentially ensure credibility of ESG data, because without real ways in which you can actually record data and make sure that it is actually recorded in a credible way in which the output is also something that you can trust on. Today, we're talking about a world in which we see a lot of greenwashing, and it's simply because it's hearsay. It's okay, as a company, I've done XYZ on my efforts towards social impact, but are you able to essentially show or prove that you are in fact doing that? I think technology is the only way in which we could do that. But young people in tech-led industries are not essentially able to get access to financing. And for me, I think we need to essentially confront the gender gap as well. We have a lot of women that are still marginalized. And I think one of the biggest things when it comes to ESG, full integration and ESG reporting, we do actually want to see companies having, equitable board representation, equitable pay, that type of situation. But we still have scenarios where women in the same industries as men are not paid equitably. And I think as it pertains to sustainability sector, women have, women, especially the ones in marginalized communities, they need to co-own the table. It's not about them being at the table, it's about them essentially co-owning the table. And I think we need to also make sure that underrepresentation is actually taken care of, and meaning that our policy instruments, meaning that systematic biases is something that we need to essentially address as a collective. And big question is, where do we actually begin? We start by making sure that environment, social, and governance principles education are actually accessible. And this is about addressing the challenges that I have previously mentioned. And then I think it's about also ensuring that we bring ESG to a very relatable language. We make ESG language relatable. I was in a conference just last week where we were talking about the alphabet soup, where it's very easy for us to essentially get lost it's essentially easy for us to get lost in, a taxonomy, sustainability, net zero, this and that. And I think we need to make ESG language accessible and very open for people to take on and to know what their role is insofar as, you know, integrating sustainability in our daily lives is concerned. And so I think also it's about making the conversation very open. And how do we make the conversation open? We make it open by making sure that people actually understand what we're talking about. So from an educational and an awareness standpoint, I think this is something that we need to essentially do. And then the second aspect of it, Dr. Renuka, is that we need to establish ESG incubators. I cannot, emphasize this a lot. We need, and as much as we have incubators for innovation, we have incubators for finance and for business and for entrepreneurs as a general. ESG being such a futuristic, and forward-looking industry, I think we need to make sure that we actually have incubators that are focused on actually supporting young innovators and young entrepreneurs seeking to drive sustainability. And then I think also the other one is that we need to build global partnerships that actually recognize young people, not just as a demographic. I think this is actually an issue where we actually tick boxes because young people demographic, we had, say, for example, today, we would have had maybe, say, 34 or 100 young people. I think we need to stop looking at young people from a demographic standpoint, but we need to actually look at them as a driving force of sustainability and the future that we intend to build. And my last, submissions, Dr. Renuka, are going to be around that if we need to essentially build, and if we truly want to build, and deliver in sustainability and sustainable development goals, then inclusion must be at the forefront, and it must go beyond symbolism, and it has to actually make sure that we need to make sure that, you know, we embed it in the leadership, into the very DNA of the ESG system, meaning that inclusion must be actually the core backdrop of what we are trying to do. And so with that, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that inspiring and inclusive, you know, like you have touched on many points, especially on youth, how, and especially on the language of ESG. I think that is really important, that it should be simple, it should be providing a space for everyone to get into it and learn about it and be a part of it. That's very important. Thank you very much for all the points that you have mentioned here. I will invite Izzat Ali Khan to speak on what we are having now from Izzat Ali Khan. He will be speaking on strengthening partnerships between governments, business, and civil society. So over to you.
Good afternoon and good morning. People are across the globe, so we have different time zone. Thank you, Dr. Renuka, and all the organizers and whoever the participant here. The partnership is very important if you see the economic growth perspective. However, we are here, to talk about SDGs, 3, 5, 5, 8, and 17. However, the partnership, when we do the partnership between the governments and then civil society and this companies, so the countries, the company has countries has all the resources where they can allocate those resources to the industries or the companies, so which can manufacture the goods for the future, to make the world a better place to live in. However, in this, and partnerships can be, with the individuals also, and we can add values through individuals. If we take an example, through the inventions and discoveries. So Edison, invented the bulb, and this, if you see the Bangladesh live example of Muhammad Yusuf, who founded the bank, so which is supporting and changing the lives of the people. So partnership is very important. When we come together for the partnership between the societies, universities, organizations, and the countries, so the change comes through. However, in terms of sustainability and ESG, when we talk about the economic growth, so it has, it needs lots of things, to build a house, to build a country, to build a city. We need the like human capital first. So that human capital must have that equality. So here, the gender equality comes. So we must, provide equal opportunities to the women in the job as well as in the life structure also. Like if we talk about the developed countries, it must be in the working spaces. However, in the underdeveloping countries, it might be the health issues, like the women still, like they must have proper health checkups and benefits. So we must consider, like the gender equity in education, in health sectors, and as well as opportunity. And then here, like when we talk about gender equality and ESG, where the ESG role come into play, how the corporate can like include women in the leaderships. And nowadays, like it is showing when we see uh, the ESG report of the global or 500 Fortune companies. So you can see the women leaderships, and like there is the gap. The Fortune 500 companies are filling those gaps, which was earlier in 20 years back. However, when we talk about the economic growth, the women are 50% of the population. So if you want to make the world like sustainable, and like if we want to achieve that like that growth, so we must empower the women, we must provide them the education. uh, so this is, and then like the shared goal. So like how we can achieve, see how United Nations war set up these SDGs to make this better earth better place to live in, where everybody have like equal rights, access to the clean water, access to the education, like a world without hunger and all. So how we can achieve these things, like we can achieve these goals through the shared goal, and which is like SDG 17. So whatever we have as an individual, as an organization, as an institutions, as a government, so we have to work towards a shared goal. We have to work towards to create the positive impact on the lives of the people, on the earth, on the planet, on the nature. So here the partnerships come, and then when we talk about when we talk about the economic growth, here like the companies, the organizations must have, government must provide them easy access to set up their businesses, and then institutions to uplift the workforce for any country. And today for the current world, the human capital is very important. However, we are talking about the AI and all, but the human capital is very important. We cannot ignore that. So we have to provide the equal right to everybody, either it is the developed country, like especially in the underdeveloped or developing countries. uh, so shared goals, equality, gender equality, like, and then we must care, like if we talk about the gender equality, so we must care or talk about the women's safety at the work, and like during the journey, and either like the mobility from one place to another. uh, so by all these three things, I must say, like as like ESG is like corporates are adopting the ESG and sustainability. So definitely it will bring the positive changes to the world. And once the ownerships comes, from the corporate, from the government, from the civil society, then sure, like it opens the door for everybody. For it can open the door for, for opportunities for everyone, one in the green spaces, for the green jobs, and like equal opportunity. So this is all. So we must support how to create a positive impact on the society and positive impact on the planet. So this is all, Dr. Renuka. Thank you so much. Thank you so much all for listening me.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes. Thank you so much for highlighting these solutions. I would like to now invite do we have Lydia? I don't think we have Lydia. We don't have Aveste joining us. So I will go straight to Sharon, who would like to speak on building resilient and inclusive economics through sustainable finance. No, sorry. She will be speaking on women's role in AI in advancing ESG. So over to Sharon, please.
Hello. Brilliant. All the speakers so far have been absolutely fantastic. I'm having information overload in the best way possible. So I'm just going to get started and not bore you. My name is Sharon, and I am very excited to introduce to you what I am calling a global imperative, and that's women and youth in AI for advancing ESG. Now, I know that AI is a bit of an out there thing to most people, but stay with me. I'm going to break it down in the most granular way possible so you won't get bored. Imagine an AI system that is designed to allocate climate adaptation funds, but it's never trained from women-led communities in the global South. How equitable can that solution be? A few years ago, Amazon developed an AI recruiting tool that inadvertently downgraded resumes containing words women. This actually happened 2018. Yep. When I'm done, you can go and have a look at it. It was one of the most fascinating experiences of my life. And at this time, I was just finishing from university, and I thought, well, there we go. There goes all my jobs, which reflects a serious bias that stems from historical data. This AI taught itself to believe that the male resumes or any resume that did not mention the word woman was better for jobs. This incident underscores a very crucial truth, and the truth is that without diverse perspectives, AI can perpetuate existing inequalities. And because of the grandiosity of AI, it doesn't just perpetuate inequalities, it will escalate them if women don't get ahead of AI and join AI governance. Now, this isn't about fairness, because whenever I step into rooms and I talk about women, they're like, yeah, it's good for us to be fair. It's not about fairness. You're not doing us a favor. It's about fulfilling global commitments. Now, SDG 5, which is the gender equality SDG, it emphasizes the necessity of full participation of women in decision-making at all leadership levels, including in AI and sustainability. And as a woman who is a business executive and a corporate executive under 30, I represent both women and youth in most rooms that I go into. And every time I step into a room, it's almost as if someone's doing someone a favor. It's like, well, at least we have a woman in the room, or at least we have someone under 30 in the room. It's imperative that we are in those rooms. I'll start from this point. AI governance as sustainability imperative. Artificial, because I don't want to keep saying AI because not everyone knows what AI stands for. Artificial intelligence in revolutionizing ESG efforts is very, very optimal right now. It is optimizing energy consumption, it is enhancing supply chain transparency, and it's redefining ESG risk assessments, which is important for every organization. Now, AI has the potential to accelerate SDG 8, which is decent work and economic growth by creating jobs in ethical AI development and digital sustainability. However, and this is very important, don't miss it, AI-driven ESG solutions, to be truly effective, they must be guided by diverse leadership. Otherwise, we will have a rerun of what happened with Amazon in 2018. Inclusive governance ensures that these technologies serve all communities equitably. Engaging youth in AI governance is crucial as they bring a fresh perspective and are the future custodians of these technologies that we're building. Therefore, including them in a technology that will eventually be in their custody is, in my opinion, common sense. Number 2, women and youth leading AI governance. Now, I know what you're going to say, all right, well, the women are coming to take over. We don't care about taking over. We just want our rightful place. Now, despite advancements, women remain underrepresented, which is the greatest mystery to me personally in AI, comprising of about only 22% of professionals in AI as at, hold on, I'm going to give it to you, November 2024. Women made up only 22% of AI professionals, which is always very exciting to me whenever I read it. Don't know how that's possible. Now, the lack of diversity can lead to biased algorithms like we've seen in the past, particularly detrimental to the future, the youth that we are building these for. Now, we already have trailblazers. Trailblazers like Sania Korat, and I hope I'm saying her name right, is a founder of an AI called No Bias AI. And she's developed a gender audit tool to address biases in machine learning and algorithms and data sets. Now, that sounds fantastic because we always say to women, if someone's not going to give you a place on the table, go make your own table. But then we have the issue of women getting funded. Now, women only made up 2% of the UK's equity funding in 2023, whilst all men teams of founders made up 81% of equity funding. So when we say to women like Miss Karat, go build your own thing, and she builds something as phenomenal as the No Bias AI, but women are only getting 2% of the funding, how would you ever hear about it? And I'm guessing that everyone on this call hasn't heard about No Bias AI because it's not funded, therefore it can't go far. Similarly, we have Gabriela Ramos, who spearheaded UNESCO's recommendation on the ethics of artificial intelligence, which provided a global framework of ethical AI development, which is adopted by 193 member states. The youth are stepping up. They deserve a place at the table because they will be the custodians of everything that we are building. Now, the efforts of the youth in representation of high-level AI policy discussions is very paramount because everything that we do today affects tomorrow. And frankly, I think you'll find that in most corporate businesses, the percentage of young people in the ground floor, not executive level, outweigh the older people. We are building for youth, therefore we must have their voice in what we are doing. Number 3, and finally, collaborative leadership drives change. Women and youth are forging cross-sector partnerships to drive sustainable AI governance. People like Camille Henry, who is the founder of Xylo Systems, which utilizes AI to manage biodiversity and conservation efforts. She aligns with the SDG 17 in terms of partnership and goals. What she needs, women like her, what she needs is funded partnerships again. But currently, women only make up less than 3% of equity funding in the UK. I'm going to speak through this. Now, the youth-led organization called Tree Age, are mobilizing students to advocate for climate policies and sustainable practices, which is demonstrating the power of youth engagement in driving systemic change. In conclusion, to build AI systems that truly serve our planet and its people, we must ensure that women and youth are set at the forefront of AI governance. By embedding SDG 5, SDG 8, and SDG 17 principles into our AI strategies and our internal policies, we can create ethical, inclusive, and sustainable technologies. Empowering women and youth in AI isn't just about equity, it's about building a future for all of us. So let's commit to inclusive innovation, ensuring that the transformative power of AI advances ESG goals for everyone, and we don't end up with the same crisis that we had in 2018. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now I would like to invite, last but not least, with very important topic, Christine.
Brentani.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. And you will be speaking on building resilient and inclusive economics through sustainable finance. Over to you.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Renuka, and also all the other inspirational speakers. I hope what I'm going to say links in, or it should link in, to what others have already touched on. So we need to build economies that are resilient and radically inclusive. And we need to do this not by chance, but by deliberate design. And sustainable finance can play a significant role in accomplishing this goal. And actually, the term sustainable, it means the ability to be maintained for the future. So whether sustainable finance involves microloans or biodiversity bonds or green equities or natural capital funds or carbon credit exchanges or climate transition finance or youth-focused finance, we need to ensure that the incentives are there for both public and private markets to move more of the millions of available investments towards these impactful and necessary areas of investments that will support the health of the planet. And financial services firms are at the helm of this movement of investments towards sustainability. So what drives these firms to innovate and develop products that support the sustainable economic future? Well, here are 3 incentives that they have. 1, consumer demand. Increasingly, consumers, and particularly the younger generation, are demanding products that align with their values. And so firms that offer sustainable products can appeal to the growing market of conscious consumers. Second, regulatory and legislative incentives, and this has already been mentioned by previous speakers. Governments worldwide have implemented, and they need to continue to implement, policies and incentives to promote sustainable investments. And so financial institutions that align with these regulations can gain competitive advantage potentially, and also they can avoid regulatory sanctions. Thirdly, long-term profitability. So sustainable investments have the potential to yield solid returns over a longer time horizon, and the longer-term profitability serves as a potent incentive for firms. So I urge everyone present to take action. So let's demand that sustainability remains a headline. And as consumers, let's influence the market trends towards with our purchasing actions and our purchasing decisions. And let's mandate that governments and legislators implement greater incentives for all types of financial services firms and investors to allocate more capital towards sustainable finance projects and investments. And in alignment with SDG 17, again, people have talked about this, let's foster partnerships across sectors and borders, and creative and collaborative efforts are essential to drive innovation and to implement scalable, sustainable finance solutions that protect both nature and people. So together, we can build economies that are not just resilient and inclusive, but economies that can be sustained for the longer term. So let's embark on this journey with relentless determination. Thank you. And I hand it back to Dr. Renuka now.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So I will just we have only 6 minutes now, so I will go through some last points. However, I wanted to just focus on one thing about AI, and that could be very interesting to all of you. Like, I asked a question to AI that how you think that your data is balanced. And what I found was that My data historically includes literate, digitally connected population, predominating Western academic frameworks, English-speaking users, and those who have access to publishing, formal education, or tech platform. So there you see this, and it also says that it creates a systemic bias, however, it is unintentional, because we are historically dominated by these groups or these frameworks already. And so we need to change these. So, and therefore, calling upon women and youth to join AI and to input their ideas into this, and the local knowledge, local indigenous knowledge, to be engaging with what we will be taking future decision, that is very, very important. And finally, I would like to say that we have focused on, and I feel that the overall engagement calls upon integrating ESG into youth employment policies and programs, which can include education, vocational training, and employment programs, so that they are ready for the green and social entrepreneurship and lead on decision making for climate action, gender equality, and ethical governance, not only for these immediate problems, but also to understand the future problems and give solutions to those. And we must also create these opportunities through partnership and collaboration. No one sector or no one group is going to able to provide such such a solution. And therefore, we must have governments, businesses, civil societies, and young organizations all together on table at a same level, so that they can input their perspectives, they can talk about their challenges, and they can solve their problems themselves by involving themselves. And finally, I would say, let inclusion become an like it is not a norm or exception. Let it become an part and parcel of what things we deliver. And we must hold businesses and stakeholders and communities, all them accountable to work into this, to collaborate with each other and strengthen the networks of SDG 5, 8, and 17, and we must do that. So finally, I would say, I will stop here by saying the future we want is one where young people are not just the one, which I think Jose has made us realized by, closing our eyes and realizing that future. And I think we should be all co-creators of that future. I will thank everyone for being with us. And Mumta, please.
Yeah, no,
Over
you
to you.
raised a really important point there, and because it linked so nicely with Sharon's speech, I was just wondering. I mean, I had no idea about AI being so biasedly trained with its data sets. And you say, so we have to train it to be more inclusive, but how? How do we engage with AI to include diverse perspectives? Renuka, Sharon, do you have an answer to that?
Interesting. I asked the same thing to it, that how we do it. It is a learning model. Once you put your context, it will redefine its solutions. It will integrate it will keep on learning that, okay, these are the perspectives that I also need to include into my opinions or the perspectives that it is giving. So it will learn that. And the same thing, I can elaborate on it. 1 second, let me get into it. And interestingly, it has mentioned very nicely that what will happen, that you should include the voices of, say, American oral traditions, or Afrofuturist dreams, or diaspora economic realities, or generational wisdom which has not been recorded before. And what it will do, it's a logic model. So it will rebalance whatever it has learned, and accordingly it will then produce more balanced output. So that is where you should be, like when you do a chat, if the chat comes from me, it would be different from the people who come from, say, Cameroon or from Brazil or from other, or at a different level, when it comes from a male, or when it comes from an artist, or when it comes from the business person, it will be different, and it will redefine its balance. And that is what is really important. So we must engage with AI. But anyway, for that AI to be engaging, we need, first of all, internet. We need electricity. So there are several systemic barriers for these, and we need to get hold of or to provide solution to those things through ESG. Like, why we are holding businesses accountable, or large businesses who are having a large supply chain. They can do what they are doing along with their profit-making economic business. They can put a part of that into inclusion, into accessibility, into affordability, into bringing people more and more equity, giving more and more equity to people. And that should happen. And I think we are calling for that. Thank you.
Yeah, but also just a little bit in terms of how
Please.
AI is skewed. It's skewed because of the underrepresentation in data. And from a research that I just carried out, which I carried out with a friend of mine in Cambridge, we've come to find that Africa is the most underrepresented and under-researched region of the world. And so what Dr. Renuka said in terms of AI actually works with, number one, majority English speaking, male, Western educated data. That removes a massive part of a massive section of the entire world, the entire global South, and especially women in the global South. They're not even recognized in AI. I'm sure to AI, it's just a concept that's just out there and it doesn't have any data to back it up. And one of the ways that we must absolutely get ahead of this is that women need to get into AI governance and get into the training side of AI. So what we're experiencing is the front end of AI. Women need to get into the back end of AI, into where data is being inputted, where the algorithms are being inserted. That's where we need to get into. And it needs to start accounting for people in the global South and Asia. There are women in Malaysia that AI doesn't even know exist. It has none of their data. So that's where we're at. And that's why we have the crisis that we're experiencing.
Thank you. Thank you so much for everyone's input. Thank you very much for all the attendees and the speakers. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thank you.